Hey guys, this is Jaden here from Couch to the Mind, clearing the mind one couch talk at a time. On today's episode 12, I've got Giulia, Diako, George with me. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Oh, very well, thanks. Thanks for joining me on the couch today.
No problem. We're on separate couches.
You get what I mean. I hope you do. Anyways, the topic we'll be going over today is the importance of art, and I've got Giulia on the show because I know for a fact that art is quite a big thing, a big part of her life, and she's got quite a big passion for art. And only recently I found this out because I went over to her place a couple of weeks back, and we were talking about future ideas for videos and ways of improving the podcast itself. And I was having a look at some of her artworks, and yeah, they're truly amazing pieces of work. So no, that's all right, honestly, really good. But yeah, so as always, I mean, I don't think Giulia's got anything to share that's going to offend anyone at all.
No, I won't offend anyone.
No, so
Can I do the disclaimer?
Yeah, disclaimer, go for it.
If you feel offended, it's up to you to pause, skip, or continue the video. Is that it?
Beautiful. Alright, so how did you get into art first of all?
It's a good question. I think I've always been like arty,
Yep.
creative. I never did it in school. I was never that sort of person that did visual art or anything like that. I think really when it came out again was when quarantine hit, and I was like, we're bored. What do we do? So then I literally transformed a room in my house into an art room.
Yep.
And it just gave me something to do. So that's where it's come back recently. I've always done it, but it came back once quarantine sort of hit.
And this might not be for you personally, but I mean, did you use it as a coping mechanism for certain things you may have been feeling that being quite negative?
I think the best way to describe it in terms of mental health,
Yep.
is I'm a chronic overthinker. Chronic overthinker. It's I call it mental gymnastics.
Yep.
My brain will do anything it can to get from one point to the furthest point that's far away from it. It will make it there somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the best thing to do when I'm in that situation, and for a lot of people who are in that situation, is to turn it off.
Yep.
Because once you turn it off, then even if your brain tries to go back to it, you're sort of why am I going back to it? So a good way for me to turn it off then was to sit down with a canvas or paint and just be okay, I'm going to focus on this for an hour, 2 hours, and I'm just going to make whatever I decide to make. Because then it literally will switch off, and I'm only focusing on whatever little tiny thing I'm painting at that moment.
Yep.
And then I have a chance to sort of go back if I want to go back and continue overthinking.
Yeah, so essentially in that moment you're not thinking of your external negative thoughts, you're just focusing on getting the work done.
Yeah, you're focusing on the one thing that's there, because it's so easy once you're in that tangent to keep going on that tangent and keep going on the roll, because that's what your brain does. It just keeps on going with whatever you feed it.
Yeah.
So if you feed it something else, then it focuses on that instead. And then a lot of the times I'll forget whatever I was overthinking about, and then it'll stop. The cycle stops for a bit.
Yep. And in terms of maybe finding a particular hobby such as art for yourself, for other people that are struggling, I mean, you've already mentioned the fact that if you focus on something in particular, that will help erase some of those negative memories at that particular time. Are there any other benefits that you can see you can get out of doing such an activity?
I mean, it'd be the same for you with your hiking and your exercise.
Yep.
It'd be exactly the same. I think art is good for people like me. I'm a very analytical person.
Yep.
My brain is very much point A, point B to get to point C, which is why art's better for me than exercise. Say, I don't respond well if I'm just out walking,
Yeah.
or just out running or doing something, because then my brain will keep going. My brain will keep going with whatever motion I'm on. If I can focus on something that's detail oriented, and that's analytical, and that's sort of similar to the way that my brain works,
Yep.
I'm a lot more likely to sort of get something out of it. So I think that's the key. If someone struggles with overthinking or anxiety in any way like that, find something that's relevant to how your brain sort of functions, if that makes sense.
And I think it's difficult to actually get into that state of mind if you don't have a passion for a particular activity you're trying to get into. So
I agree.
so for me, I enjoy art, but I don't have a major passion for it. So it wouldn't work for me essentially. So that's why I use exercising and going to the gym as my version of art.
I think so, because your brain's also very different. You're not as point A, point B, point C as me.
Yeah.
So for you, like when you're going on a hike or when you're running, it's probably a lot different for you. Like that gives you a chance to clear your mind. If I try to clear my mind will go back to it. So I need to sort of distract my mind, if that makes sense. Like take away from these details and go to whatever details I want to do here.
Yep.
And then it translates a lot better.
Yep.
And I can like function a lot better, if that makes sense.
And last time I went over to your place, you actually gave me a piece of artwork that you thought resembled some of like my image of Couch in the Mind. Did you, you want to show it?
It's my little artwork.
No, come on. Like, if you just want to showcase some of the stuff, like this is like some of the stuff you're doing.
I mean, I don't have like a style because I don't think there's one like form of art that really I like more than others. I usually just like to paint whatever I feel like I want to paint. So this one I did, and then when I saw your Couch in the Mind stuff, I was like weirdly kind of perfect.
No, it looks, I can see that as well.
It's like pretty much the exact subject matter that you were trying to target in like a painting, and I was like, if you want it, it's yours. But it's not necessarily like the only thing I do. I like to do like more on the abstract side. I don't like things that are too real.
Yep.
Realism to me doesn't really like let me be that creative. Too abstract doesn't let me be as like skilled as I like to be, if that makes sense. Like I can't use as much technique. Stuff like this is like a good medium ground, and I can sort of focus on that for a period of time and then be over it and then do something else.
Yep. And you were saying that, I mean, this is a little bit more touchy, but you were saying that you suffer from a bit of anxiety. Is there a reason behind that?
I'm an anxious person. I think a lot of people are anxious people. Like I said, I'm an overthinker. I'm a stress head, and I'm a worry ward. That's like just my character.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people are anxious. A lot of people have anxiety. You could walk around to anyone, I think, and
I just think some people are better hiding it than others.
Yeah, 100%. Better hiding it. Some people have the coping strategies that they need to begin with, and they don't necessarily have as big of a battle, if that makes sense. Like they already are equipped with whatever they know works at that time. My anxiety is more general worry, general overthinking is how I would describe it. Like it's gotten a lot better, but there was very rarely a time where I would ever just sort of chill, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like something would always be going at all times, something wiring. I had to sort of always have something to do. I couldn't ever sit still. Everyone would always tell me, like, you can't sit still, you can't just do nothing.
Is it because your thoughts then, just perpetuate in your mind?
Yeah, if you think about I don't know if you're the same. My brain literally would keep going. So if I was like at home sitting, a lot of it was like toxic overproductivity. It's something that I've learned about. So feeling like I need to be doing something at all times or I'm not doing anything. So that's what my brain would sort of spiral at. So I'll be like, I need to do this and then this and then this and then this.
Yep.
And if I take a break, while you're taking a break, you could be doing this and then this and then this and then this.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I'm very much the same, that because I work full time now, like any moment that I get that's free, I want to make the most of it. And it's like the last thing I want to be doing is sitting on the couch doing nothing. And that's the only thing. The only time I'll be sitting on the couch doing nothing is at night. Yeah. When I feel like that's the right time to be doing that.
That's what the right time. See, that's what my brain always did. Like, it's not the right time. It's taken me so long to be able to be like, I want to watch TV. I'm going to watch TV. It's something that I think a lot of people struggle with. I think schools have a lot to do with it because you always have something to do. Yeah. It's always giving you something to do. It's always something you can do extra work on. When they'd always say, like, start studying in advance, or always do this in advance, or you can always be preparing for something else. It's just something that's like burnt into us. Yeah. I just took a longer time to sort of realize I can sit still. The world isn't going to end, and I can get up and continue something later.
So what did you put in place for you to be able to do that, and for others that are listening in that may be feeling the same way?
It takes a lot of discipline, to be honest. You would think it's the opposite. You think you have to be less disciplined to not do something. It takes a lot of self-talk for me and a lot of discipline to be like, I'm going to sit here. Yeah. Because it's not the end of the world if I sit here. I'm going to sit here and do nothing. And that is what I'm going to do for this period of time. And once I sort of like told myself enough that I was doing that for a period of time, then it became more natural. Then I could just like sit down and be like, I'm more productive when I'm resting than I would be if I was constantly going, if that makes sense. Having that sort of rationale helps.
It's funny you've analysed in that particular way, because for some people, their version of art is actually sitting down and watching Netflix.
Yeah.
You know, whereas for you see that, or you had seen that as a waste of time.
Yeah.
For others, art might be a waste of time. It's how you perceive things.
100%. It's whatever outlet or whatever something helps you to just stop. Because there are definitely times where you are more productive if you are stopped, and if you're focusing on something else, than if you were to just keep going and keep focusing on whatever it is that's stressing you out. A lot of the times, if I'm stressed about something, I need to go and just stop, because I'm gonna be more productive then after I've done whatever else I want to do.
Yep.
Than if I just keep going on whatever like wild tangent my brain wants to go on, working on whatever it is.
It's very easy to get into that train of thought, but having the ability to kind of take a chill pill and stop and reanalyze on the situation or something that may be going through your mind is difficult. But once you've actually been able to do that, you've got the ability of doing that, then you're able to then sit down and not be productive and see that as a way of just relaxing.
Yeah, and relaxing is then productive.
Yeah,
that's
pretty much that. Yeah,
that's what it takes so long, because you've been trained to think the other thing. Like, it's crazy. You have to like retrain your whole
100%.
Yeah.
If there's any, like, I don't know, is there anything in particular you may want to potentially say or talk about, you know, on this episode? There's whatever you want to say.
To be fair, I think that's something that's taken a long time to learn, that I think someone could really benefit from, is that relaxing is productive. I think the idea of being toxic in your overproductivity is something that a lot of people take a long time to realize, if that makes sense, because it's something that's drilled into you. But
I understand that's those sort of things in that, like, you might not see as watching TV or just playing games or just relaxing as a form of productivity, and you feel like you could be doing other stuff as opposed to doing that in particular. But on the other side of it, if you're struggling with your own thoughts when you're by yourself, would there be any coping mechanisms that you would recommend that would help minimize some of those negative thoughts?
For me, because I am so analytical, I need to take whatever a thought is. If it's something negative, if it's something that's really bothering me, and pull it apart, if that makes sense. So, what is the thought I'm having? What can I challenge it with, if that makes sense? What can I use to get rid of the distortions? If whatever thought, usually my thoughts that I'm overthinking are not as dramatic as they are. It's just what your brain does. It expels them.
That's usually how it is.
If I can take the thought, break it down into what distortions my brain is doing to it, then it's a lot easier for me to see clearly. Sometimes I literally write it down on my phone, or I'll write it down. The thought is this. What it's doing is self-blame, whatever it is. Self-blame, over-magnification of the negative. I'm not looking at the positives. I'm judging what someone else said to me too much. Like, that person probably didn't mean what they said. If I can write that down in my brain on a piece of paper, it breaks it down. And then the thought sort of doesn't have a back leg to stand on. It really takes, like, whatever your brain's doing to magnify it, it takes it completely down. That's how I think is the best way for me, because I'm so APC.
No, and I think that's probably one of the better approaches I've heard personally. But I think,
it does help.
Like you said, it's up to your own personal interpretation of whether that helps you or not.
Yeah, it depends on how your brain functions.
But I mean, there's no hurt in giving it a go, and I think if it helps you, I'm sure it would help someone else listening out there as well.
Definitely. So. I think if you're someone who responds to that, you have to work out how sort of you respond to situations. Some people need to sit in it. Some people, I know a lot of people there's something called worry time. Have you heard of it?
No, please explain.
It is. So if you're a person who, it doesn't really help for me, because I am a person who needs to break it down. Worry time is when you're having all these thoughts, or like you're overthinking whatever it is, you devote a time in the day and you go, for 10 minutes at 4 p.m, I'm going to worry. I'm going to think about whatever this thought is. I'm going to worry about it. I'm going to trail in my mind. I'm just going to sit, and that's when I'm going to think about the thought. And it works for a lot of people because by the time you get to your worry appointment, your worry time in the day, you don't want to be spending that time thinking about the thought, if that makes sense. You get to the point in the day and you go, well, there's no point in me thinking about it now because it's not as big as it was in my head at the time. And so that sort of diminishes the thought.
That's really good.
I think it's something that helps a lot of people, but you have to be the right type of person.
For sure, but
For
I think
me, it didn't help much.
because like it might help diminish it, but then it might help bring up things that you want brought up. So
yeah, you have to see, you have to try a bunch of
yeah,
stuff.
it's all these different. Like you gotta find out what coping mechanism is best for you. But if these seem to help you, I'm sure it helps someone else out there.
Definitely would.
Is there anything else you would possibly want to mention or go over at all?
I don't think so.
I mean, how can the viewers reach out to you in terms of your artworks and potential?
Promo.
Yeah, self promo. Why not? Like
Oh,
in terms of like if they wanted to see what you're creating or potentially want to buy a piece of art that you
It's
put
just
up
my
for sale.
Instagram. They're just my Instagrams, and it's artby.giulia
Yep, and I'll put that in the link below the video. So
in the description.
yeah.
You can go down to the description below. Like and subscribe.
Anyways, thanks very much, Giulia, for joining me today.
No problem.
And I hope you got a bit out of it as much as I have, and everyone else has as well.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm glad I did it.
No, it's been good. I hope you found it to be quite a therapeutic experience as well. Anyway, this has been topic 12 of Couch the Mind, clearing the mind, one couch talk at a time. And the topic I went over with Giulia today was the power of art. So hope you guys got something out of it. And as always, just message me or ring me, just contact me if you need me for anything. I'll catch you guys next Friday. See you later.